So actually, we as a consumer, we don't
Are you
really
aware
know
of the
that.
average unit?
All of you are kings and queens in your own home with your own throne that you can sit up and decide and let the business continue to woo you.
Welcome to another episode of Consumer Voice. This is the in-house program of the Consumer Protection Council that tells you all about your rights as a consumer and how to enforce them whenever you feel they have been breached. Man's ability to engage in complex and intelligent communication is a key factor that distinguishes humans from other animals. The need to stay in touch with family members, friends, business associates has brought about a revolution in the telecom sector. Today, telecommunication provides new opportunities like voice calls, text messages, and other forms of communication on the internet. Simply put, telecommunication has made the world a global village. The telecom revolution in Nigeria, however, is not without pains. Consumer complaints in the sector have lingered in spite of efforts being made by the government to address them. Today's topic, consumer protection in the telecom sector, promises to be enlightening. You can expect to know the nature of consumer complaints in the sector, what you should be aware of, your rights as a consumer, your responsibilities, the aim of consumer protection in the sector, and the redress mechanisms available to you. Still on the program are our usual segments, CPC's activities and updates, Consumer of the Week, and our reports on your social media feedback. First, we'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll go straight to our discussion segments. Stay with us. To get a feel of some of the challenges experienced in the telecom sector, the Consumer Protection Council's team went out to discuss with telecom consumers, and this is what they had to say.
Sometimes when I load, sometimes the credit will disappear and they will return it. And if you send a message, the message won't go. They will cut the money for the credit for the message you send. Meanwhile, the thing did not go and they will cut your money. So several things like that happens in my phone.
A few days ago, I found out that if I load money one of my telecom line, they will just draw out the money. I didn't subscribe to any service, and they will remove the money. I keep calling, they will say sorry, we are going to do something about it, and then at the end the money is gone. You see, they call you with number that look as if it's somebody's number. By the time you pick it, they will charge you for something.
The services are poor. Poor. Very, very poor. Because you will feed your phone, before you know it, they will deduct and say it is for this, it is for that. They will come and tell you, press this for that. You don't force people to buy what they don't want to buy. If I want it, I come to you, I approach you, pay you. Not when I put credit to communicate, get across to my friends and relations, you remove it unjustly.
Welcome back. Like I said earlier, we're going to be discussing consumer protection in the telecom sector. Today I have with me in the studio two experts from the Consumer Protection Council, Mr. Akoji Achimogu, Assistant Chief Legal Officer here at the Consumer Protection Council. Welcome to the program, sir.
Good evening and thanks for having me.
Also with me is Mrs. Umagu Owanchuku, an Assistant Chief Surveillance and Enforcement Officer here at the CPC. Welcome to the program, ma'am.
Thank you very much and good evening.
Mrs. Owanchuku, let me start with you. As someone who handles complaints at the Surveillance and Enforcement Departments, and you are abreast with the situation in the telecom sector, what sort of consumer complaints do you receive on a regular?
Thank you. We actually receive consumer complaints on all aspects of the service providers' operations. But there is just that there are some areas that we have more complaints on, like those of unsolicited services, like you have unsolicited SMSs, caller tunes, emails, adverts, automated calls, and the likes.
Okay.
And you know, these also go with deductions, billings, and consumers find it very offensive. I didn't ask you for a service, and I get billed for something I didn't ask you for. You have data issues, and of course billing issues along with the data issues. You have inconsistencies here and there. You have disconnection, recycling of active lines. You have roaming issues. There are many. You have misleading, unfaithfulness to promotional claims. So actually, there's really no area of their service provision that we haven't received complaints on.
All right. So what's the volume of complaints that you receive in the telecom sector?
Well, like I said earlier, it's quite a lot. But comparatively, I mean, among the sectors, at least for the first half of this year, I can categorically tell you that telecom ranks third among the sectors.
Oh, wow.
Because it's really a matter of concern to the council.
Okay, good thing we're talking about it now. Mr. Achimogu, following from what Mrs. Nwachukwu has just said in terms of the sort of complaints that we have, what sort of rights do consumers have in this respect, in this sector?
Well, let me start by saying that telecommunications is actually about communicating. So I want to get to speak with you. Now, one of the rights you have is to have uninterrupted calls. So if I put a call across to you and it's interrupted by the network, the service provider is doing something wrong.
Exactly.
Okay? So you have a right to uninterrupted calls. The next thing you also want to be sure of is that your information is kept private. There are lots of information you have to, I mean, we're talking about registration of your SIM, your SIM card, and you give out a lot of information that the service provider needs to keep private. If there's a problem, we expect that you have a right that it should be resolved within 3 hours, and where that is not done, then we would want you to make a complaint, because we acknowledge the fact that there could be issues with technology, but then if they need to be resolved within a very reasonable time to ensure that for which you are paying, you get. And then you also want to talk about getting value for your money. That's a cardinal principle that we want to pursue at the Consumer Protection Council. That's why the council was set up in any case, to ensure that where you pay, you work hard to get money, so you want to get value for that money. So we want to ensure that you're getting value for what you pay for, and it goes on and on and on and on. And you can also talk about, you have a right to reject unwanted communication. I mean, nobody should force anything on you. You should have a right to what you want to receive.
Okay.
You should be able to say, no, I don't want to have this, and like that. Lest I forget, we also have put together this, which we have called the compendium of the rights of consumer in the telecom sector. Okay. It's supposed to help the consumer. It's a one-stop shop of your rights, and we have also placed it on our website. Okay. So your consumer may go to our website and find what these rights are. Some of these things I'm talking about there.
Okay. So, Mr. Achimogu, I mean, we do get a lot of this unsolicited text messages, phone calls, and all of that. But generally, I hear that it's a global practice. It's a trade tool. What's the difference? How do you clarify that? Because if it's a trade practice, then even though it's unsolicited, it's just informative.
Yeah, if it's geared towards giving you information, then it's okay. But if it's going to cost you something, or you can't opt out of it, if they're going to charge you something for the information, then it's wrong, because you didn't ask for it.
Okay.
It's their duty to ensure that it doesn't cost you anything. They're passing information to you. It shouldn't cost you anything.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
Yes, just to add to what he has said, a consumer also has right to choose from a variety of services. He also has right to complain. You need to complain about the quality of the services you're being offered, whether it's a tariff or just any way